The text went to the wrong number. A Korean Mafia boss replied, "I'm not him, but if you want to send him to hell, I can provide the gasoline." Chloe Mabel's vision blurred. The screen of her phone swam through tears that wouldn't stop falling, each one landing on the intricate lace of her wedding gown like a stain she'd never wash out. The dive bar smelled like stale beer and broken dreams. Somewhere behind her, a jukebox played a song about second chances. She didn't have one. Her best friend Maya slid onto the cracked vinyl stool beside her. "Chloe, we need to get you out of here. People are staring." "Let them stare!" Chloe's voice came out raw, scraped clean of everything but rage. "Let them all watch Chloe Mabel, the fool who didn't see it coming." She'd seen it, though. Hadn't she? This morning, T walking into what should have been the guest room. The door slightly open. The sound of her sister's laugh. The one Lisa used when she wanted something. The zipper. The scream that tore from Chloe's throat when she saw them tangled in sheets that still smelled like the fabric softener she'd bought. Daniel, and Lisa, her sister, the one she'd raised after their mother died, the one she'd protected, sacrificed for, loved. Chloe's thumb hovered over Daniel's contact, then pressed. The words spilled out like poison she needed to purge from her system. "You chose her, my own blood. I hope she's worth burning in hell for." She hit send and closed her eyes, the phone clutched between her palms. Let him feel it. Let him drown in the weight of what he'd destroyed. The phone buzzed. Chloe's heart stuttered. Her eyes snapped open, breath-catching as she read the response. "I'm not him, but if you want to send him to hell, I can provide the gasoline. Stay where you are." The relief that had surged for half a second died instantly, replaced by ice sliding down her spine. This wasn't Daniel. This wasn't his careful, apologetic tone. This was something else entirely. Her fingers flew across the screen. "Who is this?" The reply came in seconds. "The man who's going to give you everything you need for revenge. 10 minutes. Don't move." Chloe's hands went numb. The phone nearly slipped from her grasp, caught at the last moment against the whiskey-stained bodice of her $5,000 dress. She'd sent her devastation, her most humiliating moment to a stranger. Panic clawed up her throat. "I'm sorry, wrong number." Please ignore this." "I don't ignore opportunities that land in my lap." 8 minutes. "Is there still whiskey in that glass?" "Oh, God." The words escaped as barely more than a whisper. Chloe looked down at the tumbler in front of her, the amber liquid catching the low light. "How did he—" Her phone buzzed again. "Is there?" Her fingers moved without permission. "Yes. Drink it. You'll need courage for what comes next. 6 minutes. Maya grabbed her arm. "Chloe, what's happening? Who are you texting?" "I don't know." The confession felt like standing on the edge of a cliff in the dark. "I texted Daniel, but this isn't him." "Here's what you need to understand, Chloe Mabel. I need a wife to legitimize my business operations. You need someone to burn your ex-fiance's world to ash. We both get what we need." Chloe's breath stopped. He knew her name. He knew where she was. The bar suddenly felt smaller, the walls pressing in. "You're insane!" "Practical, 4 minutes. I'm already outside. Walk out alone and face their pity tomorrow, or walk out with me and watch them fear you instead. Your choice." Maya was reading over her shoulder now, her sharp intake of breath confirming this wasn't a fever dream. "Chloe, this is crazy. This could be dangerous." Dangerous. The word should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like the first solid thing she'd touched all day. Daniel was safe. Lisa was safe. Look where safe had gotten her. Sitting in a dive bar in a wedding dress, texting a stranger because the people she'd trusted had gutted her. "I don't know you." "You will, 2 minutes. But right now, all you need to know is this. I keep my promises. If you want Daniel destroyed, I'll do it. Financially, socially, completely. All you have to do is take my hand when I walk through that door." Chloe stared at the screen. Her reflection stared back from the black mirror, a woman in white lace sitting in hell. Behind her, patrons whispered. Someone had taken a photo. By tomorrow, everyone would know. Chloe Mabel, abandoned on her wedding day, drowning her sorrows in a bar that hadn't seen a health inspection since 2015. The door opened. The bar didn't go quiet gradually. It slammed into silence like a guillotine drop. Every head turned. Every conversation died. 3 men entered first, moving like choreographed violence in bespoke black suits. They swept the room with trained eyes, then positioned themselves by the entrance, hands folded, expressions carved from granite. Then he walked in. Chloe's breath caught. He moved through the bar like a knife through silk, smooth, inevitable, dangerous. A 3-piece suit in charcoal that looked hand-stitched by Italian masters. Hair swept back with precision. But it was his face that held her, sharp jawline, calculating eyes, and an expression of absolute certainty. This was a man who didn't ask. He commanded. He crossed the sticky floor without seeming to notice it, stopped 3 feet from her table, and extended a hand. Chloe Mabel. Not a question. A claim. I'm Kyung Seok, and I'm here to offer you a deal. Maya made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a warning. The bartender had frozen mid-pour. Someone's glass hit the floor and shattered. Kyung Seok's eyes never left Chloe's face. You have 30 seconds. Stand up, take my hand, and walk out of here with your head high. Or I leave. And you face tomorrow alone, with nothing but pity and screenshots. Chloe looked at his outstretched hand. His fingers were steady, confidence embodied. Then she looked at his eyes, and that's where she saw it, the truth beneath the transaction. This wasn't kindness. This was business. But it was also power. And God, she was so tired of being powerless. Behind her, she could feel the weight of stares, the phones raised to capture her continued humiliation. Tomorrow's headlines were already writing themselves. Jilted bride drinks away wedding day. Unless she changed the narrative right now. Chloe's legs moved before her mind caught up. She stood, the cathedral train of her dress sighing across the filthy floor like a queen's robe trailing through conquered territory. Her hand, still trembling with rage and whiskey, and something that might have been hope, reached out. His fingers closed around hers. Cool, firm, absolute. Smart choice, Kyung Seok murmured. Then louder, his voice carrying through the entire bar. The lady is leaving. Anyone who posts photos will regret it. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise delivered with the weight of inevitability. He tucked her hand into the crook of his arm and turned toward the door, his men falling into formation around them. As they walked, Chloe felt something shift in her chest. The humiliation didn't disappear, but it transformed. She wasn't the abandoned bride anymore. She was the woman who'd walked into hell in a wedding dress and come out with the devil himself. Welcome to a world where wrong numbers become weapons and mafia bosses solve problems with contract marriages instead of bullets. This isn't a love story. It's a revenge story that might accidentally become love. If you're here for soft, you're in the wrong place. We do dangerous. We do calculated. We do the kind of partnership that burns your enemies to the ground while wearing designer suits. Subscribe to see how this unfolds and comment where you're watching from. I will love to say hello to you just to know how far our story's going, because Chloe Mabel just shook hands with the head of the Geum-Dragon Syndicate, and Kyung Seok doesn't do refunds. The SUV smelled like leather and money. Chloe sat in the back seat, wedding dress bunched around her like a white cloud that had forgotten how to float. Kyung Seok sat beside her, Lee texting rapidly on his phone, his face illuminated by the screen's cold glow. He hadn't spoken since they'd left the bar. Maya had tried to follow, but one of Kyung's men had politely but firmly suggested she go home. Chloe had nodded that it was okay, though nothing about this was okay. Nothing had been okay since 6:47 this morning. The memory hit her like a fist. She'd woken early, excitement fizzing in her veins. Her wedding day. She'd tiptoed through the house she shared with Daniel, not wanting to wake him before the ceremony. Bad luck to see the bride, tradition said. She'd laughed at that. They'd lived together for 2 years. What was one more glimpse? She'd wanted to check on Lisa, make sure her sister had everything she needed for her maid of honor duties. Lisa had stayed over in the guest room, claiming she wanted to help Chloe get ready, to be there for every moment. The guest room door had been cracked open. Just an inch, maybe 2. Chloe had reached for the handle, smiling, ready to wake her sister with coffee and excitement. Then she'd heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A low murmur. A familiar laugh. Her hand had frozen on the doorknob. She'd pushed it open slowly, her brain refusing to process what her eyes were seeing. The morning light streaming through the window, painting everything in soft gold. The sheets tangled. Lisa's hair spread across the pillow. And Daniel. Her Daniel. His hand on Lisa's waist, his mouth. The scream had torn from somewhere primal. Daniel had jerked up, his face cycling through shock, guilt, and something that looked almost like relief. Lisa had grabbed the sheet, her eyes wide but not apologetic. Not yet. "Chloe, wait!" Daniel had started. She'd run. Still in her pajamas, she'd run to her car and driven. Nowhere, everywhere, until she'd ended up at the Rusty Anchor, where she'd changed into her wedding dress in the bathroom because some part of her brain had shattered and thought, if I'm dressed, maybe it'll still happen. Maybe this is a nightmare. But nightmares didn't text you 2 hours later with, "I can't do this. I'm sorry. I love her. I think I always have." "We're here." Kyung's voice snapped her back to the present. The SUV had stopped in front of a building that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought subtlety was a weakness. All glass and steel, reaching toward the sky like a middle finger to gravity. One of Kyung's men opened the door. Kyung stepped out first. Steve then extended his hand to help her. The wedding dress made it awkward, the train catching on the doorframe. His men adjusted it without being asked, handling the expensive fabric like it might explode. The lobby was marble and silence. A doorman nodded at Kyung with the kind of respect reserved for people who could end careers with a phone call. They took a private elevator, the kind that required a key card. The numbers climbed. 20 floors. 30. 40. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that looked like it had been featured in magazines with names like Architectural Digest or I Have More Money Than God. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture was modern, all clean lines and uncomfortable-looking elegance. Art that Chloe suspected was original hung on the walls. Everything was black, white, or chrome. It looked like a place where emotions came to die. "The guest room is down the hall, second door on the right," Kyung said, finally pocketing his phone. "There are clothes in the closet that should fit. Shower, sleep, we'll talk in the morning." "Wait!" Chloe's voice came out hoarse. "You said you had a deal. You said you'd destroy Daniel." Kyung turned to face her fully for the first time since they'd left the bar. In the penthouse's stark lighting, she could see him clearly. He was younger than she'd initially thought, maybe early 30s. Handsome in a way that felt dangerous, like a blade with an ornate handle. "I did say that," he agreed, "and I will. But first, you need to understand what you're agreeing to." He walked to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses of whiskey. The real kind, not the paint thinner she'd been drinking earlier. He handed her one. "Sit." It wasn't a request. Chloe sat on the edge of a white leather couch that probably cost more than her car. Kyung took the chair across from her, crossing one leg over the other with precise elegance. "My name is Kyung Seok. I run the Geum-Dragon Syndicate, which handles import-export operations across 3 continents. Some of those operations are legitimate, many are not." He said it the way someone might mention they worked in accounting. I need a wife because the Korean Business Council won't approve a major real estate merger unless the primary investor demonstrates family values and stability. Apparently, a bachelor who runs a syndicate doesn't inspire confidence. You're telling me you're a criminal, Chloe said slowly. I'm telling you I'm a businessman who operates in gray areas. There's a difference. He took a sip of whiskey. Your fiancé, Daniel Morrison, has been laundering money for the Red Vipers, my primary competition, for the past 8 months. Small amounts. He thought he was being clever. Chloe's hand tightened around her glass. What? He's been skimming from his employer, running it through offshore accounts connected to the Vipers. Sloppy work. Amateur. Kyung's expression didn't change. I've been monitoring him, waiting to see if he'd lead me to something bigger. He didn't. He's just greedy and stupid. The room tilted slightly. Chloe drank her whiskey too fast, the burn grounding her. And my sister? Lisa Mabel, age 24, 3 maxed-out credit cards, gambling problems she thinks no one knows about. She's been attending underground poker games in Chinatown. Kyung pulled out his phone. Hao tapped a few times and turned it toward her. The screen showed photos of Lisa at a card table, chips stacked in front of her, her expression intense. The timestamps went back months. She found out about Daniel's money problems and decided he was her way out of debt. Seduced him. Convinced him that she was the one inheriting your family's trust fund, not you. Chloe stared at the photos. Her sister. Her baby sister, who she'd worked 2 jobs to put through college after their mother died. Who she'd lent money to, covered rent for, bailed out of countless small disasters. That's not true, Chloe whispered. About the trust fund. I'm not inheriting anything. My father split it equally between us. I know, but Daniel doesn't, and Lisa isn't going to correct him until after she's secured him. Kyung took the phone back. Xiao, they deserve each other. The question is, what do you deserve? Chloe looked up at him. His expression was neutral, but his eyes were calculating, measuring her reaction like data to be analyzed. Why would you help me? What's in it for you besides the wife thing? Destroying the Vipers' money laundering operation. Making an example of people who thought they could operate in my city without consequences. And yes, securing the merger that will make me legitimate enough that people stop treating me like I'm going to shoot them in business meetings. He set down his glass. Marry me for 6 months. Play the role of devoted wife. Attend events. Smile for cameras. Make me look stable. In exchange, I'll systematically dismantle everything Daniel and your sister have built. I'll destroy his career, expose his crimes, and ensure Lisa's debts come due all at once. 6 months, Chloe repeated. 6 months. Then we divorce quietly. You'll receive a settlement generous enough to start over anywhere you want. New city, new life, new identity if you prefer. And Daniel and Lisa will spend the next several years in legal hell. It was insane. Completely insane. Marriage to a criminal. 6 months playing pretend while he did. What? Mafia things? But the alternative was going home to an empty apartment. Fielding calls from concerned friends. Watching Daniel and Lisa play happy couple while she picked up the pieces of her demolished life. I need to think about it, Chloe said. Kyung nodded once. You have until morning. The guest room is ready. There's a lock on the door if it makes you feel safer. No one will bother you. He stood, the conversation apparently over. He walked toward the hallway, then paused. For what it's worth, Ms. Mabel, I am sorry this happened to you. Betrayal by family is a particular kind of knife wound, but emotion is temporary. Revenge is forever. Then he was gone, disappearing into what she assumed was the master bedroom. Chloe sat alone in the pristine living room, still wearing her wedding dress, holding expensive whiskey, in the penthouse of a mafia boss who just offered to ruin her ex-fiance's life in exchange for a fake marriage. She laughed, a single sharp bark of sound that echoed off the walls. Then she drank the rest of her whiskey and went to find the guest room. The bed was obscenely comfortable. Chloe had peeled off the wedding dress, leaving it in a heap on the floor like a shed skin, and collapsed in the oversized t-shirt she'd found in the dresser. She'd expected to lie awake all night, mind racing. Instead, she'd fallen into the kind of sleep that felt like drowning. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For 3 blissful seconds, she didn't remember. Then it crashed back, the full weight of yesterday landing on her chest. Chloe found clothes in the closet, designer labels all in her size, which should have been creepy, but instead just felt efficient. She pulled on black pants and a silk blouse, both of which fit perfectly, and followed the coffee smell to the kitchen. Kyung Seok sat at a marble counter, reading something on a tablet, wearing a simple black t-shirt and gray sweatpants. Somehow, he made loungewear look like a calculated choice. His hair was slightly damp, suggesting a recent shower. "Coffee's fresh," he said without looking up. "Mugs in the cabinet above the machine." Chloe poured herself a cup, the normalcy of the action bizarre given the circumstances. She was drinking coffee in a crime lord's kitchen. This was her life now, apparently. She'd just taken her first sip when Kyung turned the tablet toward her. The headline screamed from the screen, "Love Finds a Way. Daniel Morrison and Lisa Mabel announce surprise engagement after years of secret romance." Below it, a photo. Daniel and Lisa, standing in front of what looked like Chloe's apartment building. Lisa was wearing one of Chloe's dresses. Daniel had his arm around her waist, both of them smiling at the camera like they'd won something. The article gushed about how they'd fought their feelings for years, how they'd finally given in to true love, how sometimes soulmates come from unexpected places. There was no mention of Chloe, no mention of a wedding that had been scheduled for yesterday, like she'd been erased from the narrative entirely. The coffee mug shook in Chloe's hand. She set it down carefully before she dropped it. "They announced it this morning," Kyung said, his voice neutral. "I imagine they thought controlling the story was smart, getting ahead of the gossip." Chloe stared at the photo, at Lisa wearing her dress, at Daniel's smile, the one she'd thought was reserved for her. "I'll do it," she heard herself say. "The marriage, the deal, all of it." Kyung studied her for a long moment. Then he reached into a drawer and pulled out a leather folder. He opened it, revealing a stack of papers with dense legal text. "This is a contract outlining the terms. 6-month marriage. Public appearances as needed. You'll move into this penthouse. You'll receive a monthly allowance of $50,000 for personal expenses. In exchange, you'll attend events, play the devoted wife, and never speak about the true nature of this arrangement." He flipped through pages, pointing out clauses. "You're free to come and go as you please, but you'll have security with you at all times. For your safety, not control. You'll attend training sessions, self-defense, etiquette, how to handle hostile media. At the end of 6 months, we divorce. You'll receive a settlement of $5 million. $5 million. Chloe's teaching salary was $45,000 a year. "And Daniel?" Her voice came out cold, a tone she didn't recognize. "Well, will be systematically destroyed. I'll buy the company he works for and fire him publicly. I'll ensure his money laundering is discovered and reported to the FBI. I'll call in Lisa's gambling debts. I'll make sure everyone who matters knows exactly what they did to you." Kyung pulled out a pen and set it on the counter. "But you need to understand. Once you sign this, there's no going back. You're mine for 6 months. My wife, my responsibility, my problem. The Vipers will see you as leverage against me. You'll be in danger." "I'm already in danger," Chloe said quietly. "I spent 2 years of my life with a man who was lying to me. I raised my sister, sacrificed everything for her, and she destroyed me without a second thought. At least with you, I know it's a transaction. At least you're honest about what this is." She picked up the pen. See, her hand was steady now, the shaking gone. She flipped to the signature page. "Make him hurt," she said. and signed her name. Kyung Seok watched her signature dry, then added his own with a practiced flourish. "Welcome to the family, Mrs. Seok." The name sounded foreign, but then everything about her life was foreign now. "We'll start immediately," Kyung continued, tucking the contract back into the folder. "The clothes in the guest room are yours now, but we'll need more. You'll meet with my stylist this afternoon. Tomorrow, you'll meet with my head of security, a woman named Jin Soo, who will teach you how to not get killed. And this weekend, we'll attend the Morrison and Associates charity auction." Chloe's head snapped up. "Daniel's company hosts that." "I know, I bought a table. We'll arrive together. I'll introduce you as my wife. And we'll watch his face when he realizes what you've done." Kyung's expression was almost pleasant. "Consider it the opening move." The next 3 days were a blur of transformation. The stylist arrived first, a sharp-eyed woman named Vivian, who took one look at Chloe's wardrobe and pronounced it tragically salvageable. She'd brought racks of clothes, all in dark colors, all expensive enough that Chloe was afraid to touch them. "Mafia wife aesthetic is very specific," Vivian had explained, holding up a black sheath dress. "You're not trying to blend in, you're trying to intimidate. Think elegant predator." Chloe had tried on outfit after outfit, while Vivian made notes on a tablet. Everything fit perfectly. Everything made her look like someone else entirely. Someone sharper, colder, more dangerous. "The hair," Vivian had said finally, was circling Chloe like a shark. "It's too soft, too safe. We need something that says, 'I've made choices, and I don't regret them.'" 3 hours later, Chloe stared at herself in the mirror. Her hair, which had been long enough to touch her mid-back, now fell just past her shoulders in a sleek, angled cut. The stylist had added subtle highlights that caught the light. It framed her face differently, made her cheekbones sharper, her eyes harder. She looked like a woman who could hurt you and not lose sleep over it. "Perfect," Vivian had pronounced. "Now you look like you belong next to him." Jin Soo arrived the next day. She was compact and muscular, with short hair and the kind of presence that suggested she could kill you 6 different ways before you hit the ground. She'd looked Chloe up and down with the expression of someone evaluating a particularly disappointing purchase. "You're softer than I expected," Jin Soo had said. "That'll make this harder." For 6 hours, she'd run Chloe through basic self-defense. How to break a wrist grip, where to hit to disable someone quickly, how to move in heels without falling, how to identify exits in any room. "The goal isn't to win a fight," Jin Soo had explained, demonstrating a move that had left Chloe breathless on the mat. "The goal is to buy time for actual fighters to reach you, stay alive long enough for rescue." By the end of the session, Chloe was bruised and exhausted, but she'd also managed to flip Jin Soo, once, when the instructor had let her. And the fierce pride she'd felt at that small victory was intoxicating. "Better," Jin Soo had said. "So you learn fast. That might keep you alive." The evenings were different. Kyung would appear from wherever he spent his days. His office, she assumed, though she'd never seen it. And they would have dinner together. Not intimate dinners, more like business meetings that happened to involve food. He'd taught her the basics, how to address business associates, which topics were acceptable in public conversation, how to deflect questions about their relationship with charm rather than defensiveness, how to hold her whiskey at corporate events without actually drinking it. "You're not my wife at these events," he'd explained over sushi she was too nervous to taste. "You're my partner, my equal. You defer to no one, not even me." What if someone asks how we met? "We met at a mutual friend's party. Love at first sight. Whirlwind romance. Here, private ceremony. The details are our business, not theirs." He'd set down his chopsticks. The key to lying effectively is to keep it simple and believe it yourself. If you act like there's nothing to hide, people won't look. Chloe had practiced her story until it felt almost real. Until she could smile and say, "Yes, it was quite sudden," without her voice shaking. On the third night, Kyung had brought home a velvet box. He'd set it on the table between them without ceremony. Open it. Inside was a ring, not an engagement ring. They were past that fiction. A wedding band. Platinum, with a single line of diamonds that caught the light like captured stars. "We'll need to sell this," Kyung had said. "Reporters will look. People will comment. It needs to be believable." Chloe had slipped it on her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Everything in Kyung's world fit perfectly. She'd stared at it for a long moment. This symbol of a marriage that wasn't real, that existed only on paper and for cameras. It was heavier than she'd expected. Or maybe that was just the weight of what she'd agreed to. "Tomorrow," Kyung had said, "we go public. Are you ready?" Chloe had looked up at him, this man she'd known for 3 days, whose last name she now wore. "No," she'd admitted, "but I'm doing it anyway." He'd almost smiled. "That's the only answer that matters." The Morrison and Associates charity auction was held at the Grandview Hotel, in a ballroom that dripped with crystal chandeliers and old money. Chloe had been to this event before, last year, on Daniel's arm, wearing a dress she'd bought on sale, and felt self-conscious in all night. This year was different. She stepped out of the town car in a black column dress by Givenchy, cut with architectural precision to emphasize every line of her body. Diamond earrings, on loan from Kyung, though he'd said they're yours now, with a shrug that suggested diamonds meant nothing to him, caught the light from a dozen camera flashes. Her new haircut had been styled into sleek perfection. She wore red lipstick the color of arterial blood. Kyung appeared beside her, offering his arm. He wore a navy 3-piece suit that probably cost more than a car, his hair swept back, his expression calm. Together, they looked like the kind of couple that belonged on magazine covers. "Remember," he murmured as they walked toward the entrance, "you're not the woman they knew. You're someone new, someone they should fear." 2 of his men flanked them, not obviously, but close enough. Protection disguised as staff. The ballroom was already full, women in gowns, men in tuxedos, the air thick with expensive perfume and barely concealed judgment. Chloe felt eyes turn toward her, heard the whispers start. "Is that?" "No, it can't be." "Oh my God, it is." "Chloe Mabel, what is she doing here?" Kyung's hand covered hers on his arm. Warm. Steady. "Breathe. Chin up. You're a queen surveying her kingdom." They walked deeper into the ballroom. People parted. Some stared openly. Others pretended not to notice while clearly noticing everything. And then she saw him. Daniel stood near the bar, talking to a group of men in suits. He looked the same, sandy blonde hair, that easy smile he used in professional settings, the way he gestured with his hands when he was trying to convince someone of something. He looked like the man she'd loved, the man who destroyed her. As if sensing her gaze, Daniel turned. His eyes found her. For a moment, he didn't seem to register what he was seeing. Then, recognition hit, and his face cycled through emotions so quickly it was almost comical. Shock, confusion. And then, when his gaze shifted to Kyung, something that looked like terror. Chloe felt Kyung's posture shift slightly beside her. Predator recognizing prey. "Shall we?" Kyung murmured. They crossed the ballroom together. Daniel's conversation partners had trailed off, everyone watching the approaching collision. "Daniel," Chloe said when they reached him. Her voice was ice. "What a surprise to see you here." "Chloe," Daniel's voice came out strangled. We need to talk about what happened." "We have nothing to discuss." She turned to Kyung. See her smile sharp. "Darling, I don't think you've met my ex-fiancé. Daniel Morrison, this is Kyung Seok, my husband." The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Daniel's face had gone white. Actually white, like all the blood had drained out of it. His eyes fixed on Kyung, and Chloe saw the exact moment recognition hit. "Kyung Seok," Daniel repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. The Geum-Dragon Syndicate, yes, Kyung finished pleasantly. He extended his hand. I've heard so much about you, Mr. Morrison, particularly your creative accounting practices. Daniel didn't take the offered hand. He looked like he might vomit. I don't know what you mean. Of course not. Kyung's smile was all teeth. My mistake. Though I should mention, I recently acquired a controlling interest in Morrison and Associates. Closing date is Monday. I'm looking forward to reviewing the books personally. I'm very thorough about understanding my investments. The color that had drained from Daniel's face was replaced by a sickly gray. Around them, people were trying not to stare while absolutely staring. You married her? Daniel's voice cracked. How? When? 3 days ago, Chloe said. Private ceremony, very intimate. You understand how it is when you know, you just know. She echoed the words from his engagement announcement. Sometimes soulmates come from unexpected places. Daniel flinched like she'd slapped him. Chloe, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. Chloe's voice was cold, and she felt something settle in her chest. Power, control. The ability to hurt him the way he'd hurt her. You made your choice. I made mine. I hope she was worth it. Actually, a new voice cut in. I'd like to know the same thing. Chloe turned. Lisa stood there, wearing a dress that was trying too hard. Too much sparkle, too much skin, like she was performing wealth rather than living it. Her smile was brittle. Sister, Lisa said, her voice dripping false sweetness. You've certainly moved on quickly, though I suppose grief makes people do desperate things. Desperate? Chloe let the word hang. No, that's you, Lisa. How much do you owe the Golden Dragon poker room now? 40,000? 50? Lisa's smile cracked. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I have receipts, photographs, quite detailed records of your gambling habit. Chloe tilted her head. Tell me, did you mention that to Daniel before you seduced him? Or did you let him think he was getting the responsible sister? You're lying, Lisa hissed. Am I? Chloe looked at Daniel. Did she tell you about the debt? Or did she tell you she was inheriting the trust fund? Our father's money that you thought you'd get access to through her? Daniel's face answered before his mouth could. Lisa's mask cracked completely. You have no proof of… I have everything, Kyung interrupted, his voice soft and more frightening for it. Every card game, every lost hand, every threatening phone call from bookies. I also have documentation of Mr. Morrison's offshore accounts and his money laundering activities for the Red Vipers. He smiled at them like he was discussing the weather. But please, continue celebrating your love. I wouldn't want to interrupt your special moment. Lisa had gone pale. Daniel looked like he was about to pass out. Around them, the cream of high society watched with barely concealed delight. This was better than any charity auction. Oh, and Daniel, Kyung added, your employment is terminated effective Monday morning. I'll have your things sent to you. I don't keep thieves on my payroll. He placed his hand on Chloe's lower back, gently guiding her away from the wreckage they'd just created. As they walked, Chloe heard the whispers erupt behind them, a tsunami of gossip and speculation that would reshape Daniel and Lisa's social standing by morning. They found their table, the best in the house, naturally. Kyung pulled out her chair. How do you feel? He asked quietly as she sat. Chloe considered the question. She should feel guilty, should feel bad about publicly humiliating them. So should feel something other than this cold satisfaction burning in her chest. Powerful, she admitted. Kyung's smile was genuine this time. Good. That's what revenge tastes like. The night's just beginning, Mrs. Seok. By the time we're done, they'll wish they'd never heard your name. Chloe picked up her champagne glass, catching her reflection in the crystal. A woman in diamonds, sitting beside a dangerous man, destroying her enemies with precision and grace. She raised the glass slightly. "To new beginnings," she said. Kyung's glass touched hers with a delicate clink. "To revenge," he corrected. And as the auction began, Mabel, now Kyung Seok, smiled for the first time in days. Not the soft, pleasing smile she'd worn for Daniel. Something sharper. Something with teeth. She was just getting started. The powder room at the Grandview Hotel was all marble and gold fixtures, designed to make wealthy women feel like royalty while they touched up their lipstick. Chloe stood at the mirror, reapplying her red lipstick with steady hands, when the door crashed open. Lisa stormed in, her face flushed with rage and champagne. "How dare you!" Chloe met her sister's eyes in the mirror, but didn't turn around. "You'll need to be more specific. I've dared quite a lot lately." "You humiliated me, humiliated Daniel, in front of everyone." Lisa's voice shook. "You stole a rich man on the rebound just to make us look bad." "Stole?" Chloe capped her lipstick slowly, precisely. "That's rich coming from you." "I didn't steal anything. Daniel and I fell in love." "Stop." Chloe finally turned, and something in her expression made Lisa take a step back. "Don't insult me by calling it love. You targeted him because you thought he'd solve your money problems. You slept with my fiancé in my house, on my wedding day, because you've always been jealous of anything I had." "I was never jealous of you," Lisa spat. "Perfect Chloe, Saint Chloe, always sacrificing, always playing the martyr." "I raised you." Chloe's voice was quiet, lethal. "After Mom died, I was 17 and you were 9. I worked 2 jobs to keep us housed and fed. I put you through college. I covered your rent, your debts, your mistakes, and you repaid me by destroying the one thing I thought was mine. You want me to be grateful?" Lisa laughed bitterly. "You want me to spend my life thanking you for holding it over my head? I wanted you to be my sister." Chloe felt something crack in her chest, but her voice stayed steady. "I wanted you to love me enough not to hurt me, but you didn't. You chose to hurt me, so now I'm choosing to stop caring." "You think marrying some gangster makes you better than me?" "No, but it makes me free of you." Chloe picked up her clutch. "Enjoy Daniel. Enjoy explaining to him why the trust fund isn't coming. Enjoy the bookies who'll come calling when Kyung ensures your debts are called in all at once. You wanted my life. You can have the ruins of yours." She walked toward the door. Lisa grabbed her arm. "You can't just—" The door opened. Jin-Soo stood there, her expression flat. "Mrs. Seok, your husband is looking for you." Lisa's hand dropped. She looked at Jin-Soo, at the quiet threat in her stance, and whatever else she'd planned to say died in her throat. Chloe walked out without looking back. Behind her, she heard Lisa's breath hitch. A sob or a scream. She didn't care enough to tell the difference. Monday morning arrived with the precision of an execution. Chloe sat in Kyung's office, a space of glass and steel high above the city, watching news feeds on multiple monitors. Jin-Soo stood nearby, arms crossed, while Kyung worked through emails with casual efficiency. The press release hit at 9 sharp. Geum-Dragon Holdings acquires Morrison and Associates in surprise takeover. By 9:30, the security footage was playing on financial news channels. Daniel Morrison, escorted from the building by security, a box of his belongings in his hands. The walk of shame, broadcast to anyone who cared about business news. By 10, the FBI had issued a statement about an ongoing investigation into money laundering operations connected to organized crime. Daniel's name wasn't mentioned yet, but it would be. Kyung had made sure of it. "He'll come to you," Kyung said, not looking up from his screen. "Today or tomorrow. Desperate people always go back to the last person who showed them kindness." "I'm not kind anymore," Chloe said. "No, but he doesn't know that yet." Daniel appeared that evening. Chloe was alone in the penthouse. Kyung had a meeting, Jin-Soo was getting coffee when the doorman called up. "Mrs. Seok, there's a Daniel Morrison here to see you. Should I send him away?" Chloe thought about it. The smart move was yes. The safe move was yes. "Send him up." She was standing by the window when the elevator opened. Daniel looked terrible, unshaven, wearing the same clothes from the auction, eyes red-rimmed. He looked like a man who'd been awake for 3 days watching his life collapse. "Chloe." His voice cracked. "Thank God. I need to talk to you." "You have 5 minutes." He stumbled forward. "This is insane. The company, the FBI, all of it. Kyung Seok is ruining my life because of you." "No. He's ruining your life because you're a thief and a liar. I'm just the reason he decided to do it now instead of later. You have to call him off, please. I'll lose everything." "Good." The word landed like a slap. Daniel stared at her. "You don't mean that." "I do. You destroyed me, Daniel. You did it knowingly, deliberately, on what was supposed to be our wedding day. And I'm supposed to feel sorry for you because there are consequences?" "I made a mistake." "You made a choice. Multiple choices. You stole money. You slept with my sister. You lied to both of us for months." Chloe's voice was ice. "Every bad thing happening to you right now, you earned." "I loved you." His voice broke. "I still love you." "No, you don't. You loved what I gave you. Stability, forgiveness, someone who'd clean up your messes without asking questions." She turned to face him fully. "But I'm not that person anymore. And even if I was, I wouldn't waste it on you." Daniel dropped to his knees. Actually dropped to his knees, hands clasped like prayer. "Please, I'll do anything. I'll make it right. Just stop him. Stop this." The elevator dinged. Kyung stepped out, Jin-Soo behind him. He took in the scene, Daniel on his knees, Chloe standing above him, unmoved, and something almost like approval flickered across his face. "You need to leave," Kyung said quietly. "Now." Daniel scrambled to his feet. "This is between me and Chloe." "There is no you and Chloe. There's my wife, and there's a criminal I'm having investigated. If you're not gone in 30 seconds, I'll have you removed less gently." Daniel looked at Chloe one last time. Whatever he saw in her expression made him flinch. Then he ran for the elevator like the building was on fire. When the doors closed, Chloe realized her hands were shaking. Kyung appeared beside her with whiskey. She took it, drank it in one burning swallow. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Nothing," she said. "I feel nothing for him. Is that wrong?" "It's survival." 2 weeks later, Chloe was shopping in the Diamond District with Jin-Soo. Just browsing, really. Kyung had mentioned an upcoming event that required new jewelry. And Chloe was starting to understand that appropriate jewelry, in his world, meant stones that cost more than houses. The store was high-end, the kind where they locked the door behind you and offered champagne. Jin-Soo stood near the entrance, scrolling through her phone while Chloe examined a bracelet that caught the light like captured fire. "Mrs. Seok." The voice came from behind her. Male, unfamiliar, with an accent she couldn't place. Chloe turned. 3 men in leather jackets. Not Kyung's men. She'd learned to recognize his people by now. These men had different energy. Hungrier, more dangerous in a way that felt uncontrolled. Jin-Soo moved instantly, positioning herself between Chloe and the strangers. Her hand went to her jacket. "Gentlemen, walk away." The one who'd spoken smiled. He had a scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw. "We just want to talk to Mrs. Seok about her husband's business practices." "I don't discuss business," Chloe said, proud that her voice stayed steady. "We think you should start." Scarface took a step forward. Jin-Soo's hand emerged from her jacket, holding a gun. Not pointing it, just holding it. A promise. "Next step, I shoot you in the knee," Jin-Soo said pleasantly. "After that, gets messy." The store employees had retreated to the back room. Smart people. Scarface's smile didn't waver. Tell Kyung Seok the Red Vipers send their regards. Tell him we know his weakness now. His eyes fixed on Chloe. Pretty thing, be a shame if something happened. Then they were gone, walking out like they'd just made a casual observation about the weather. Jin-soo had her phone out instantly. Code Red, Diamond District. 3 Vipers made contact with Mrs. Seok. Threat level, verbal. She listened. Understood. Returning to base now. The drive back to the penthouse took 12 minutes. Jin-soo drove like she was being chased, which maybe she was. Chloe's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Kyung was waiting when they arrived, his usual calm fractured by something that looked like fury. He crossed to Chloe immediately, hands on her shoulders, eyes scanning her for damage. Are you hurt? No, Jin-soo. Did her job, but this changes things. He stepped back, and Chloe saw what he was really feeling. Fear. Controlled. Channeled into action, but fear nonetheless. Pack a bag. I'm sending you to our safe house in Vancouver. What? No. This isn't a discussion. The Vipers are targeting you to get to me. You're leaving tonight. I'm not running. Chloe's voice was hard. This is exactly what they want. To make you weak by taking away your leverage. You're not leverage. You're... He stopped. Something shifted in his expression. You're my wife. A fake wife. A contract that expires in 5 more months. Is that what you think you are? His voice was quiet. Dangerous. A contract? Chloe stared at him. The air between them felt charged, like the moment before lightning struck. What else would I be? Mine. The word came out fierce. These past weeks, watching you transform, watching you destroy them with your head high. You stopped being a contract the moment you signed that paper in my kitchen. You're not leaving. I won't let them take you. Then don't send me away. Chloe stepped closer. Teach me to fight. I let Jin-soo train me properly. Make me someone who can stand beside you instead of someone who needs protecting. Kyung studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone. Jin-soo, clear my schedule. She trains every day until the Golden Gala. Everything you know. Jin-soo's smile was terrifying. Finally! The Golden Gala was 3 weeks later. A high society event, ostensibly for charity, but really for networking, showing off, and reminding people where they stood in the hierarchy. Chloe wore a gown of midnight blue that looked like starlight had been woven into silk. Kyung wore a black tuxedo that made him look like death dressed for dinner. Stay close, he murmured as they entered the ballroom. The Vipers know we'll be here. They'll make a move. Chloe's hand was steady in his. Under her gown, she wore a thigh holster with a small handgun Jin-soo had taught her to use, just in case. Let them try. The ballroom was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, waiters carrying champagne that probably cost more per glass than Chloe used to make in a day. The city's elite mingled, laughing at jokes that weren't funny and forming alliances that would last until the next scandal. Daniel was there. Of course he was, looking gaunt, desperate, standing in a corner like he was hoping not to be noticed. His eyes found Chloe and went wide. Then the lights went out. For 3 seconds, darkness and confused murmurs. Then emergency lighting kicked in, red and dim, painting everything in shades of blood. Men poured through the doors. Not waiters, not guests. Men in dark clothes carrying weapons that they didn't bother hiding anymore. The Red Vipers had come for their revenge. Screaming erupted. Guests stampeded toward exits that were suddenly blocked. Kyung's hand tightened on Chloe's. Behind me, now! His security detail materialized. 6 men, all armed, forming a protective circle. But the Vipers had come prepared. There were more of them. Many more. Kyung Seok! A voice amplified somehow above the chaos. Give us the girl, and everyone else walks out alive. Not happening, Kyung called back. The first gunshot shattered a chandelier. Crystal rained down like diamonds. Then everyone was shooting. Chloe dropped low as Jin-Soo had taught her. Kyung's body covered hers, one arm around her waist, the other holding a gun. She could feel his heartbeat against her back, steady, controlled, even now. "The service corridor!" Jin-Soo shouted. 20 feet. 10 o'clock. They moved as a unit, Kyung's men laying down covering fire. Chloe ran in heels, her training kicking in, keeping her balanced. Almost there. Almost! Someone grabbed her arm, hard enough to bruise. Chloe spun and found herself staring at Daniel. "I'm sorry," he gasped. "They said they'd kill me if I didn't." He dragged her backward, away from Kyung, toward a cluster of vipers, using her as a human shield. "Chloe!" Kyung's voice was raw. His gun tracked toward them, but couldn't fire. Not with Daniel hiding behind her. "Let go," Chloe said quietly. "I can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Chloe remembered Jin-Soo's training, the specific way to break a grip. She twisted, drove her elbow into Daniel's solar plexus, and when he gasped and loosened his hold, she dropped and rolled. The gunshot was deafening. Daniel screamed, knee crumpling, blood spreading from his leg. Kyung had shot him the instant Chloe was clear. Then, Kyung was there, pulling her up, pushing her toward Jin-Soo. "Get her out!" "Not without you," Chloe heard herself say. The Viper leader, Scarface from the jewelry store, stepped into view. He was grinning. "Touching! I'll kill her first so you can watch." Kyung moved. 3 shots, fast and precise. Scarface went down. So did the 2 men flanking him. Then Kyung staggered. Chloe saw the blood spreading across his shoulder before he did. Someone had shot him. One of the Vipers, dying, had gotten a final shot off. "No." The word tore from her throat. She caught him as he fell, her hands pressing against the wound. "No, you don't get to die. Not for me. Not now." "Not planning on it," Kyung managed. His face was white. "But you need to run." "I'm not leaving you." Jin-Soo appeared, phone to her ear. "Medical team en route. Police 3 minutes out. Vipers retreating." Around them, the ballroom looked like a war zone. Guests cowering behind overturned tables. Bodies, some moving, some not. The Vipers who could still walk were running. Chloe kept pressure on Kyung's wound, her dress soaking up his blood. "Stay awake. Look at me. Stay awake." His eyes focused on her face. "Chloe!" "I'm here. I'm right here." "Contract's void. You're free. 5 million in your account." "Shut up about the contract." She was crying now, tears cutting tracks through her carefully applied makeup. "Just stay alive." "Why?" His hand found hers, slick with blood. "Why do you care?" "Because I love you, you idiot." The words hung in the air. Kyung's eyes widened slightly. Then he smiled. A real smile, nothing calculated about it. Terrible timing. "You're one to talk." Sirens wailed outside. EMTs burst through the doors. They took over, professional and fast, loading Kyung onto a stretcher. Chloe tried to follow, but Jin-Soo held her back. "Let them work. We'll follow in the car." The hospital waiting room was fluorescent and sterile and infinite. Chloe sat in her blood-stained gown, refusing to change, while Jin-Soo handled police statements and Kyung's associates made quiet phone calls that probably involved the word retaliation. Hours passed. 3? 4? Time had lost meaning. A doctor emerged. "Mrs. Seok?" Chloe stood so fast she nearly fell. "Is he—" "He's stable. The bullet missed everything vital. He was lucky. You can see him in a few minutes." The relief nearly drove her to her knees. Jin-Soo caught her elbow. "Told you he's too stubborn to die." They let her in at dawn. Kyung lay in a hospital bed that looked too small for him, his shoulder bandaged, IV in his arm. His eyes opened when she entered. "You look terrible," he said. "You got shot." "I've had worse." He tried to sit up, winced, settled back. You told me you loved me. You were bleeding out. I was emotional. Were you lying? Chloe pulled a chair close to the bed and sat. She was still wearing the ruined gown. Her hair had fallen from its careful styling. She probably looked like she'd survived a war, which she supposed she had. No, she admitted. I wasn't lying. Good. His hand found hers. Because I love you too. Have since you verbally destroyed your sister in that bathroom. Maybe before. That's a terrible reason to fall in love. I'm a terrible person, but I'm a terrible person who took a bullet for you, so I think that earns me some credit. Despite everything, Chloe laughed. The contract? Void. Meaningless. I don't want a fake wife for 6 months. I want you. Real. Forever. His grip tightened. Marry me again. Properly this time. We're already married. That was paperwork. I want vows. I want you to choose me knowing exactly who I am and what I do. I want. She kissed him. Gentle, careful of his injuries, but absolute. When she pulled back, his eyes had darkened. Is that a yes? That's a yes. The news broke over the next few days. Daniel Morrison arrested on money laundering and attempted kidnapping charges. The Red Viper's leadership decimated in what was being called a gang war. Lisa Mabel in custody as an accessory, her gambling debts suddenly very public, very unpaid. Chloe watched it unfold from Kyung's hospital room, her hand in his, feeling nothing but distance from the people who destroyed her old life. They felt like characters in a story she'd once read. Not real anymore, not important. Kyung was released after a week. The penthouse felt different now. Not a stage set for a fake marriage, but home. They spent the next month healing, planning, and occasionally having conversations with Jin-soo about how terrible they were at following security protocols. The ceremony was small. Just Jin-soo, a handful of Kyung's closest associates, and a judge who owed him a favor. Chloe wore a simple white dress. Not a wedding gown. Just something pretty. Kyung wore a navy suit and kept his left arm in a sling. The vows were real this time. I promise to stand beside you, Chloe said, in legitimate business and otherwise, to be your partner, to call you out when you're being ridiculous, to love you for exactly who you are. I promise to protect you, Kyung said, even when you don't need protecting, to destroy anyone who threatens you, to build you an empire if you want one, to love you until my last breath. Jin-soo sniffled. I'm not crying. Something in my eye. When they kissed, it felt like beginning something. Not a transaction, not a contract. Just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and decided to build something new. Later, standing in the penthouse overlooking the city, Chloe thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. The one who'd sat in a dive bar in a wedding dress, texting the wrong number because she was too drunk and broken to care anymore. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone harder. Someone who'd learned to fight. Someone who'd chosen revenge and found love in the ashes. Regrets? Kyung asked, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of whiskey. Chloe took one, considered the question. Not even one. Good. He touched his glass to hers. Because we're just getting started. And as the city lights sparkled below them, Kyung Seok, formerly Mabel, formerly a woman who'd lost everything, smiled. She'd sent a text to the wrong number on the worst day of her life. It had been the best mistake she'd ever made.